have others join us at some point. I'm not sure. So, anyway, well, Christina, you know who I am, but you have not met
Hi.
Laura before.
Hi.
And for those that don't know Laura, I'm very excited because a couple of things. So, Laura's been associate shooting with me for a few years, but more exciting than that, she is my sister in law. Hi, Hannah. Um,
Hi.
so Hannah knows Laura, actually.
Yep.
Um, but it's funny because the wedding we just did, well, the one we did at 10th Ward, I just did their
Yeah.
big reveal yesterday. And I said, "Oh, yeah, Laura's my sister in law." And she was like, "Oh, I didn't know that." So
Oh,
we don't really bring it up, I guess. I
yeah,
feel
I
like we
guess
tell
not.
everyone, but I guess we don't
I
really
know
bring
in
it
my
up.
head I'm thinking, oh, everyone just knows.
I know, but apparently they don't.
Right.
So anyway, this really came to fruition because I am pretty good at, directing outfits and things like that. And I've done that for a long time, but I am not as good at it as Laura is. For the sheer example that when we get dressed for like weddings, like remember whatever last weekend,
Yeah,
and
last
she came
week.
in all cute, and I was like, oh dang, like now I got to get myself on the same level. And she had these cute boots, and I had these frumpy ones. It was just a whole thing. So I realized you are by far the expert here. Um,
Ah,
she's
kind words.
also yes, she's also much better at styling her home than I am as well. So when it comes to your artwork and how you want to display your images, if you want to hang them in your home, if you want an album for your home, if these are for your Christmas cards, whatever it is, um,
Yeah.
I trust her to give guidance on that. So this first call that we're doing for our minis has me on them over time. If you continue to do minis with us or full sessions, the full sessions, Laura actually gives one-on-one guidance with you. So we set up a fashion consult so that you can even like walk through your closet with her. We may at some point do that in person, which would be really cool, so that she can just get that checked off the list. Because sometimes
Yep.
deciding what to wear, I mean, Christina, we already talked this week a little bit, is
Yeah.
is difficult, right? So hopefully this should make it easier. And we have a few tips for you all to help you decide, and also giving you a preview of what to expect for our backdrop and our setup for next week. Although for Amy, it's different, who just hopped on because we're going to do outdoor. So this backdrop is kind of what we're going to walk through. So I actually, Laura, if you don't mind, I'm going to start with the backdrop a little bit just to
Sure.
explain the vision.
Hmm.
And then I'm going to let you take it from there as far
Okay.
as tips on what how to decide what to wear. Okay.
Okay. Hmm.
Um, so the backdrop itself is going to be a combination of these three pieces. So I'm pulling from these three images for inspiration. This first one is largely what I'm shooting for, especially because we have this bench seat. So we're going to work with a bench seat. I find it works really well for my families just because some of my families, there are several of you, and we have space on a bench like that. That being said, it's going to be easy to step to the side. So if we want to do something where we have a standing pose, we can work with that too. This is another piece I'm pulling from. My backdrop color is going to be more similar to this greenish gray than this black or blue that you see here. We're still going to do a bit of a two-tone. So these nice like earthy tones. I just love my earthy tones. Is what we're going to pull from. I've got lots of trees, so we'll have sparkle. That's fun for kids too because they love to look at the lights and
Hmm.
the ornaments and things as well. This one I pulled just to kind of remind us that we can also create as cozy an environment as you want. We can also go more formal, and Laura's going to touch on that a little bit. I like both. It just is kind of deciding what you're going for with this particular shoot. And that's going to also dictate the outfits you wear, obviously. So, those are our three pieces we're kind of working from here to help with color scheme and everything. But I'm going to turn it to you, Laura, so you can kind of give some steps on how do they decide
Yeah.
what to wear.
I would start, I think, with picking both the theme and the direction that you want to go with your photos. So, like Carly kind of touched on it if you want to go more formal or more casual, and then picking like a color scheme that you want to run with, especially for the families that we have. Making sure that you have like a continuous theme within all of you, I think is a good like starting point. So it's Christmas. So the first thing that comes to mind is like red or green. If you want the whole family to have some sort of aspect of red or green, that's fine. But keep in mind that the bright red fire truck red is not going to photograph as well as you may think, oh, like in the mirror, this looks fantastic. So let's try more of like a wine red or more of like a muted burgundy in the photos. That, especially with this kind of backdrop where you have more of like a neutral tone, that's going to photograph better than if it was like a bright loud red. Same with your greens. If you want to go more uh I like to say like evergreen green, like think of like a pine tree, much darker than like your bright green. And then I'm a mom of two, so I know how difficult it can be to find like a matching outfit or something that matches the whole family for your little ones. I would say don't stress too hard about it. And honestly, kids look adorable in like everything. So if you want to go matching, I think that that's great for kids that maybe are a little bit closer in age. But if you have a big age gap between your kids, I think just pulling something together that just matches within like the color scheme or the vibe that you're going for is better. And I wouldn't stress too hard about like making sure that they match identical or anything like that. Um, I think a good point, Carly and I talked about this earlier, is that if you need a starting point, you can always start with like one person and then work out from there. So, for example, if we want to focus on mom or um, somebody first, and you kind of pick what you're going to wear and what your vibe is, you can work out from there, right? Like guys are pretty easy if you just want to throw on jeans, khakis, and then a button-up shirt or a plain shirt of some sort. I like to say, kind of stay away from the like bright patterns and the plaids. Flannels for the fall or even for the winter, that's totally fine, but I would just say stay away from like the bright stripes or the polka dots or something that in the camera, especially with this backdrop where you have a lot of the twinkly lights, is gonna clash with that. So like a plain green button-up shirt and some khakis.
And I want
That's
to
always
make
nice.
one point for the guys too, because this happens
Yeah.
all the time. No polos. Okay. I don't
Right.
know why that is a thing. Guys
No golf
think they're
shirts.
dressing up when they're wearing their golf shirts.
Yeah.
No, that's not it.
Yeah.
They just don't photograph well. They're often an
Yeah.
odd material. I've actually had several guys
Hmm.
wear these shirts and then feel kind of uncomfortable in like the way it
Hmm.
fits because the material just doesn't hang well.
Yeah.
So when we're
Hmm.
talking about men's shirts, we're going to reference a button up shirt.
Hmm.
So those always look nice. I would stay away from patterns too much because, like Laura
Right.
mentioned, those like small polka dots or they actually don't really show in the camera. And
Hmm.
it almost gives like a weird eye thing. I would much rather you just go solid color than a small pattern. On the topic of patterns, she mentioned flannels. And everyone likes flannels around the wintertime. Of course, they're just comfy to wear. I love when Tyler wears a flannel. I'm like all up over him. But for the photos, again with the tones, okay, so if you're going to wear, I think of like, the scotch tape that's like the green and the red and the
Yeah.
gold and the
Yeah.
like, that's bold. But if we go with a flannel that has maybe just like two tones and they're earthy, I think that works.
Yeah.
As she mentioned too, that's your pattern though. That means no one else is
Right.
in
No one else can
patterns.
wear. Hmm.
Right. So if there is someone who feels strongly about wearing some sort of pattern, or you found a top that you love and there's a pattern, you're going to work everyone else off of that, not
Yeah.
we're not doing double patterns. And for
Right.
some of
No
you that
clashing.
have,
Yeah.
yeah, and for some of you that have several of you in your photo, that's important because you could probably get away, like Amy, you've got a group, you could probably get away with a couple of you in patterns, but
Hmm.
it gets a little tricky. So we can always, talk back and forth on that too. But those are just a couple of points I wanted to kind of add in
I
there.
mean, yeah, I think a good example of that would be like if you have a family that's got a lot of boys. So you could have dad in the flannel, and then you could have a couple of the boys in like in a matching flannel or a flannel that complements
Right.
dad's, and then all of the girls like mom, and then if you have a little girl, you guys can kind of be more neutral, no pattern, and the pattern on the boys can kind of complement each other.
Do you want to touch
Um,
on texture a little bit too? Because I think
yeah.
texture photographs really well. Um,
hmm
Amy said,
Yeah, so
what did
that's
you
a
say?
good
Hold on. Amy
example.
said, I'm terrible at that. I always tell the kids this is what I'm wearing and they run with it. Honestly, you did well last year, Amy. I think if the biggest thing I think is deciding a color palette. And then as
Yeah.
long as there's a color palette and they know within that palette, you should work because I know we've got a group there. And we can
Right.
talk a little bit about color palettes too and how to help determine like which one you want. Sorry, Laura. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, so to your point with texture, I have a good example that my husband actually just got. It's not a full button up. I think it's like a quarter, like it starts here and then there's buttons
Mm-hmm.
at the top, but it's like a really dark green corduroy.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought that he'd wear it for Christmas, and I thought, like, I was actually kind of proud of him for picking it out himself. Like, okay, good for you. Um, but that's a perfect example. That would photograph really well because it's still solid in color,
Right.
but it's a texture that would show up really good, especially against like the pine trees and stuff that we have
Mm-hmm.
in the example for the backdrop. And then you can pair that with anything on the bottom, like jeans, khakis, and that would look really good with if if you have a white sweater going on. Like it just pairs so well. But like she was saying, with the golf shirts, that can sometimes be like the jersey material that's not going to photograph well, especially against this backdrop. So I would stay away with that. And especially because it is winter and you can see in the like inspo pictures that she has up here, they're in cozier material because you want to show the time of year even more so. So something that is cozy that you feel like snuggling up on, I think that's a great way to start.
The other thing with
And
textures is textures are kind of like patterns where, okay,
yeah,
so Matt, you're saying has this textured sweater, then we're
hmm
probably not going to put you in a textured sweater
exactly.
because
hmm
it's the same thing that happens with a patterned top that it just contradicts each other. I pulled this image up just in as an example because you can see that the mom
hmm
has these textured pants on that it looks like I would like a pair of those. They look very cozy.
Right.
But then dad's pants are and his top like the other textures in the image are
Right.
not so
Right.
textured.
Yeah. And like you were saying with the families that are larger, if you're trying to pick a theme, I talked about that a little bit in the beginning of like, okay, how do you kind of dress everybody similarly? I think deciding whether or not you want to go more casual or more formal is what a good place to start. And then from there, look at these backdrops and just think, what color scheme do I want to go with? Do I want to go more gold? Do I want to go more that like dark red that I was talking about? Do I want to go all green? Um, just kind of maybe pick a similar theme that everybody can kind of work with and just make sure everybody has like a pop of that color just to kind of stay within theme. And then I would think about it in terms of like, are you guys going to use this for your Christmas card? Is this going to be something you hang on the wall? And then picking from there kind of the vibe that you want to go after that. So, like, does your Christmas card going to have red on it, and you kind of want that to show with your outfits as well? Or are you going to hang this up in your house, and what does your house look like, and what's going to be around it? That helps a lot too when
Let's
picking your outfits.
let's give some examples of color palettes because I know we talked a little bit about this before everyone hopped on that
Yeah.
we do this all the time. This is what we do year round,
hmm
and it's kind of second nature to us. But we know when we talk about a color palette that sometimes it's hard to understand what we're mentioning unless you see it visually. So I actually just pulled up on Pinterest. A few I searched, so and you could do this too, winter earth tone color palette. The key here is earth tone. Okay. um Earth tone is always going to photograph well because for a couple of reasons. One, it's largely timeless. Like I'll be honest with you, if you come bright red, it's it's just gonna really it's really gonna stand out. Please don't come in bright red. Please don't. And it's also like, yes, these are your Christmas photos, but if you go with these earth tones and this backdrop, you technically could leave this image out year round
Year round.
because those tones are going to just like go through the seasons beautifully.
Yeah.
So I just pulled this up, and Laura, I was the couple that were standing out to me was actually this one because it has this like what they're calling spiced wine, which isn't red, but it gives that like it fulfills that sort of red tone, even though it's really a bit more of an orangey color. But this
Yeah.
palette in particular really stood out to me as one that I
If you go
liked.
back to the first two that popped up, those stood out to me as well because they also had the
Oh
kind
yeah,
of like
beacon
spice
teal.
color, and then that one had the red that I was talking about.
This one is
So
definitely a bit more of a red, but it would work.
yeah, well, so both of those photos I think are good to play off of because you can go more Christmas with this one because you do
Yes.
have the red, or you can go just more neutral and like you said, you can keep it out all year.
Hmm.
If it is more of just kind of like a subtle Christmas backdrop, but
Right.
you're not Christmas in your outfits.
And then it's interesting because like this one,
I'll be
these
right
are
back. I have
much
to get a charger.
brighter. Sure. These say that actually they call them blush. These are more like a pastel, still an earth tone. But even something like this would work. So if you wanted to have if for example, like I personally love the way that I look in these deeper colors. But if you feel like you really like some of these lighter tones, this palette's
Hmm.
really not bad either.
Yeah.
I would be careful putting everyone in this like you don't want to dress everyone in this blush sort of well maybe even like the blue, but I think you could complement those palettes together. I'm going to see if any others stand out to me, but if you just remember winter earth tone color palette, pop that in on Pinterest, and I'm that not one of these is standing out to me like please don't wear that.
Well,
um
and if you want to go like, no, this is just truly for my Christmas card, and you're somebody that likes the cooler Christmas tones,
mhm.
um, you can still do that, but I would stay away from like everybody just being in like white and blue. So,
Right.
meaning if dad is in a blue or a white top and jeans, and mom, you also have a sweater and a darker pant, maybe the kiddos then go opposite. Like, not everybody has to be in like the white top and the blue pants or something like that. Just try and like sprinkle in other aspects of that like cooler winter vibe that you're trying to go
Mhm.
for. And then same with like a warmer winter vibe. Like not everybody has to be like, okay, red top, green on the bottom or vice versa.
Yeah. So I also think that what we might be helpful is giving a visual for some of the things we're talking about in terms of texture and like when we say what a men's shirt needs to look like, what are we actually talking about? So I did pull up my Amazon storefront. Now, you don't necessarily have to purchase from Amazon. This is simply to show you some examples um, to give you a visual to what we're talking about. So
Mhm.
this is funny because what happens when I save them to my storefront, they don't necessarily save in the color I'm suggesting. So you'll notice that on this page is this children's sweater. I don't suggest that you purchase that
Yeah.
in that color. It's if you go to the actual see if this works. You should see like a greenish sweater now. Um, if you go to the actual page, you'll notice that this sweater is in some of those tones we talked about, right? Okay, so here's this vanilla color, here's this cork
Hmm.
color, um, or more so, probably what I'm suggesting. The green wouldn't even be hateful. So, this is why it's important to decide your palette and then start shopping so that when you pull this up and you're like, okay, that fit looks cute, but I need to know what color, you reference that palette and you know that vanilla and that cork color are on that palette.
Yeah.
If that
And I
makes
think when you're shopping too, keeping in mind like one person in the family that you are basing everything off of is a good starting point too, right? So if you're shopping for kids' clothes, think in your head, be thinking, well, what am I wearing? And does that complement my sweater or my outfit? You know, maybe you're wearing a satin skirt and a really cozy um, sweater. Well, is my kid's corduroy going to match my satin and my sweater? Like, think of it like that.
Which that satin skirt and the sweater is really in right now and one of my
Hmm.
favorite outfits. If people know what you're talking about, I can try and pull that up too.
Yeah, I
Um,
can too. I had a
skirt
picture.
winter. I just saw a few of these on. Oh yeah, here we go. So this is an example of what she's talking about, and this would photograph really beautifully. I could see Amy. I could see Brooke in something like this. Um, where am I? Here we go. Okay, so these like sweaters with the satin
Yes. Hmm.
skirts. Um,
Yeah,
this
very.
would be really pretty.
Yeah.
So, a couple other things on the Amazon cart or storefront I wanted to just pull up to show you. Some of you have little ones. So I did add a few of these here for like our babies. Again, these neutral colors are really a good start. You can also,
Oh,
oh, go ahead.
well, just because you have it up right here, the sweater that says pumpkin, I think
Hmm.
that's a good talking point with I wouldn't put your little ones or even you guys in stuff that says a lot of words.
That is a good
Honestly,
point.
with like movement that you would be doing or poses that you would be doing, I don't think that you would see a lot of it unless you were all like square hips to the camera. So I don't really think it's going to matter anyway. But I would stay away from it just because on the off chance that you do like turn to the side funny and then you just see like a P and a
You just
U,
see pumpkin.
like
Yeah,
right,
Kim.
right.
Yeah, I completely agree with that on the words. I would not do any words
No.
for a shoot like this. The only
Mm-mm.
time I've ever really done words is newborn. Sometimes people will have like an outfit they think's really cute, and I say the same thing Laura just said, which is it is so difficult to get that word to appear perfectly.
Yeah,
Um,
unless this is a session that you were like maybe it's like a pregnancy announcement and you already have a little one and they are wearing something that says like big
yes,
sis or big
which
bro,
is
that's completely different.
it is different, and it's funny though because we do have to be strategic because remember,
Yeah.
Laura, when you announced to us that Aniston was having
Yes.
a sibling, and so they put Aniston in a shirt that said "Big Sis" or something,
It
and
was a
she
sweater,
wore
yeah,
it
and it
the
was
whole
so
time.
cute.
She wore it the whole time she
She
was
wore it for like
here.
2 hours and nobody said
No one
anything, and I
noticed.
was so disappointed. And then all of a sudden, like
I
Carly's
think my
mom
mom
walks
was
in
like,
and was like, "Oh
"Yeah,
my God!" And I was like, "Oh, it took 2 hours for somebody to like
yeah."
notice." So
We
yeah, it has
didn't.
to be very strategic and very obvious.
I would just stay away from words for
Yeah.
this one. I pulled this up because this is another situation though, where it's saved to the storefront. It says pumpkin on it, but if you go to the link and you go through these, there are several options that
So many
have
options.
no
I bought
words.
this sweater for my girls. It's amazing.
And also, it says boy and girl, which I thought was cute because technically, like your little toddler boy could totally
Yes,
wear this.
with khakis and
Yeah.
cute little shoes, like that's adorable.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So
Hmm.
the other thing I wanted to pull up was, well, actually, I didn't even get to the men's shirts, but I wanted to mention men's pants. Because Laura, a couple times you did mention jeans, and I
Hmm.
personally kind of stay away from men in jeans. Um, because there are so many different kinds and it's also a blue that sometimes doesn't always go with like what we're looking for. So
Yeah, I think like I mean, jeans in the photo and in person, it can kind of like you can kind of tell which way it's leaning. Like if it's a dark blue that doesn't really contrast and it's just kind of like, well, these are pants I'm wearing, but it's not like, oh, you're wearing loud jeans that
mhm,
have like a specific fabric. I think it's okay. But I did mention khakis because I was kind of right there with you. Like, unless you're doing like a cowboy boots and like a dark blue jean, I
mhm.
would stay away from it as well and go more like khakis and a neutral shoe.
And jeans can often be kind of like we talked about with texture and pattern, where if you have one in jeans, like if
Hmm.
dad's in jeans, mom, you may decide you want to do some other sort of pant because
Right, exactly.
it can also be like the blues are all different and the
Yep.
washes are all different.
And the fit is
So
different and
yeah,
it can photograph differently. Yeah.
right. So I pulled on the storefront a couple of different, like, I guess they call these almost like chino pants. Or remember we said no golf shirts? Well, here he can wear his golf pants.
Right.
Um, so these pants are great options um, for dad or for your guys to wear.
Mhm.
And then there's a couple other shirts too. So this is another button down. This is a more casual. This is a corduroy. So this is one that you would have the texture of the fabric, which is nice. Um, but then, I mean, there's a bunch here. So we stay away from polos. We don't need necessarily just a plain t-shirt because it is winter, but you have a lot of options for dad
I'd
there.
like to talk about layering too, because a
Hmm.
lot of guys, what you can do for your winter shoot, especially if you are leaning more formal, is doing like the button up shirt underneath a sweater and like having
Hmm.
the collar stick out. I think that's a really classy look, and you can go a lot of different ways with that. Like if your undershirt is more of a neutral, but your sweater is like the thing that pops, and then um, the rest of the family can kind of play off of that too.
Yeah.
Especially like women, we like the really cozy sweater and then something on the bottom that maybe complements, like layering that with boots and like just kind of elevating the look that way can be helpful. If you're going more casual, I think just like not layering as much, but definitely if this is more of a formal portrait, something that you're gonna hang on the wall, but you want it to be a little bit more classy, definitely I think
Yeah.
layering like that, especially for the guys. It's a very classy look.
Um,
I have
so
a quick question,
yeah.
if you don't mind. For shoes for casual, what do you like recommend?
So
Um,
you go ahead, Laura. I was also gonna say that well actually I'll let you go first and then I'll add on if we need to.
okay. For more casual, it definitely, I think, depends on what pants you would be deciding to wear. So
Okay.
if you're going more with like, if you want to wear a jean, I would suggest maybe a boot that doesn't have a heel. Or if it does have a heel, it's more of a casual heel, like the block heel. And then for guys, I think like a maybe a tennis shoe that isn't super run down looking, like
Okay.
a lot of guys tennis shoes, and you can find them on Amazon too. You can find the like faux leather ones
Yeah,
for
I was
guys
thinking
that are just like a brownish color, or they even have black, but they
like well
pair nicely.
Okay.
Yeah, like something
maybe
Because
like
I
that
was,
second one or that one. Yes,
or even
what I
like
was
yeah, I
kind
was
of
thinking
thinking.
for me
Yeah.
was doing like one of those like kind of sweater set, like kind of matching sets where the pant is like the cozy sweater and the top is like a turtleneck.
I like that
Okay.
for you. And
Yeah.
I also
So
was
the
thinking,
sweater.
oh
Go
no,
ahead.
I was just going to say that I was going to ask you, Christina, what you were thinking, because depending on how cozy, I think even some like cozy socks is super
I was
cute.
just gonna say that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Cute.
I
Yeah, I was
would
gonna say because
say,
it's indoor, what you can do
hmm
is like just come in like a pair of sandals or something, and
Hmm.
then
you could do
when you're
barefoot.
there and it's your time slot, you can put socks on. You can go barefoot.
Okay.
Um, you will be inside, so it won't be as cold. So even if you did want to just, if you have your toes painted and you want to just wear sandals, I think that's cute too.
Okay.
But definitely the sweater vibe can lean more towards just like a cute pair of flats or cozy socks,
I
or you
think
can go
cozy
barefoot.
socks would be cute, depending, because based on what
Yeah.
we talked about earlier this week, Christine, I think you're
Mhm.
looking at more casual. I think the
Mhm.
socks, the one thing I will point out is if you have a vision of barefoot, please know that the men in your life are probably not going to want to be barefoot. I don't know what it is, but
Okay.
So make sure they're wearing matching socks.
they will refuse to go barefoot.
Yeah,
And if they are going socks, please make sure that they don't have Adidas written all over them or
right.
like the bottom
Okay.
doesn't have words or
Simple matching.
yes.
Got it.
Yep. And I would
Um,
say, Christina, is your sweater color like a are you thinking it's like an oatmeal? That's what I'm picturing, but what kind
Yeah.
of color?
Yeah. Like oatmeal, white, cream, beige kind of color
I
palettes.
would
Hmm.
keep the socks the same then,
yeah.
like a oatmeal color sock or a
Okay.
maybe white, but I wouldn't go like black sock with the
Okay. Got it.
yeah.
I think too, jewelry can be
Mm,
really influential with what outfits you pick. Like if we go off of your example of going more cozy, if your whole outfit is more plain, I think you can get away with a more dramatic earring or like charm necklace or something like that. But if your whole outfit already has a lot of textures and layering going on, I think keep
More
it really
simple.
simple, so that not everything going on is super loud. Like my cousin, for example, loves her huge fun earrings, and I tell her all the time that is fantastic, but then the rest of it needs to be very pretty because we're going to see the huge loud earrings foremost because they're right there next to your face, so everything else needs to complement it and be subtle.
Your simple gold is very in right now. So just even just
Yeah.
like small gold earrings or the gold, a couple like layered gold necklaces. I mean, even with the
Hmm.
casual vibe, it does elevate it slightly, which is nice. You won't feel like you're just in your sweatpants. You know, you'll still
Hmm.
feel like you're put together. I've noticed that I will be like in like today, like a baggy sweater and yoga pants. I'm like, but I have my earrings.
Right. So I look,
So
yeah.
I look put together. So let's talk about mom a little bit, or for those who aren't moms necessarily, but for our ladies.
Hmm.
There's a couple things added here too that are formal to casual. So these are a couple of pairs of pants I added because we talked about the jean thing, and sometimes for women we're like, but what else? I have leggings and I have jeans.
Hmm.
So these are a couple of pants I added. This second one here, that green with the bow, I have ordered a pair similar, and I did have another woman order those for her shoot, and they photographed beautifully. They give you like a
Hmm.
really nice waist. They hang nicely. The material is nice. So if you are looking for a pant that's not a jean, and you don't want to default to like leggings and a sweater, something like that is really cute. To the right of
I
that,
would also,
oh, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No,
I
you're
was going to
good.
say, especially with pants like that, I would not be shy to wear heels.
Yeah.
Now, like the really high stilettos, that is your choice. But I was thinking more just like if you pair it with just a nice heel.
Hmm.
Sometimes that can help when you are posing. The way that, you stand when you wear heels can help a lot with that, but it also will just add to the look. I know a lot of people think that if you're wearing heels, that all of a sudden means that you are just like super dressy, and I don't particularly think that's the case, especially even if you aren't wearing pants like that, and say you wanted to wear leggings and your boots are like your feature and they have a big heel to them. I still think that that can be dressed down if you want it to, but I wouldn't be afraid of it.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. And
Yeah.
on the dressy note, the dress next to that is very formal. I mean, that's a very formal look, but for some of my families and couples, that's more the vision that they have. So I did add that on there. It's like a velvet, so that's another one that's a texture where we want to keep then your partner
Hmm.
in something that's maybe like a lighter weight button up, um,
Hmm.
to
Like the
complement the
linen or
texture.
cotton. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um,
Gap is fantastic for those for men.
yes. Yeah. So there's a couple other things there. I was gonna try and find actually one more pant idea for women because I had actually ordered these for our family photos, and they are, you mentioned linen, and they are like a linen. And
Oh,
I
I love my linen
loved,
pants.
yeah,
I know
I
that everybody
love
says that you're
it.
not supposed to wear like white pants after Labor Day, but
Oh,
white linen pants with like a cozy sweater will
oh yeah,
forever be in my heart. Like I think that it photographs so
it
well, and
does.
honestly, it's such a good like basic to have so that the rest of you can just kind of like mirror that almost. Like it's just such a good staple piece and it's so simple, it can just work with everything.
Well, and this pair that I ordered, um, I loved the way it fit because even with my like mom bod, and I have like thicker thighs, so I was like, "Ugh, is like a looser fit pant gonna be what I want?" I felt very comfortable in it.
Mhm.
Of course, now I can't find it at all, so I'll look for that and add it to the
I would say too, the like cropped pants right now are in they do it a lot with linen pants too, but the kind that are maybe like 4 inches above your ankle. I think those can be really cute too if you pair them with some sort of like low sneaker or cute flat.
or
They
even the
even
barefoot vibe would work with
even the
that too.
barefoot, yeah, or even like a cute boot with a heel. Like I think that works really well too. But just keep in mind that sets like a certain tone for everybody. It's definitely more of like cute casual than it is like a super formal look.
Yeah, I just added these. Like something like this is kind of
Hmm.
um, what we might be referencing there. Um, I think we've kind of gone over most of what I was looking to. To recap, the biggest thing is finding that color palette. Like start with the
Hmm.
color palette because that's going to help you when even if you go in the store and you think, oh, will this fit me like the right way, and then you realize, wait, that doesn't go with the color palette we're looking at. You can negate it.
And
Um,
if you have like no idea what color palette, like in your head right now, you're thinking, oh gosh, I don't even have like a clue of what color palette I want. I think go based off of the backdrop that we showed you.
right.
And you can pull inspiration from that, right?
Yeah, that can be its
Neutral
own color
tones,
palette.
golds, greens, like whites, that's going to look really good against that backdrop and start from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said,
Yeah,
you Pinterest, what did I say? Winter earth tone color
right.
palette, and
Mm-hmm.
anything
Mm-hmm.
there looked
Like
great.
I said, think evergreen,
Yeah. Yep.
that sort of thing.
And then from there, I think we talked about picking one person and kind of working from them. It is helpful sometimes if you start with you and then plan everyone
Work
from
out.
there.
Yeah.
Because Laura and I were talking about this before we hopped on. Like, especially as moms, we always
Mm-hmm.
end up last. We figure everyone else's stuff out first, and then we wait to figure out ourselves last. And then that,
Not to mention, mom and dad are usually center of the photo, right? And kids are all around.
right.
So what you are wearing can dictate just kind of like how the rest of it looks kind of falling down. So,
Absolutely. And the problem with waiting to put you last, I mean, we've all done this. You end up stressed because you don't know what
oh
to
yeah.
wear. And then you're furiously like changing your outfit several times and you still don't feel confident or comfortable in what you chose because it was rushed. So,
It's easier to throw your husband in something like just throw him in pants
yeah,
and shirt and have him be an afterthought
you
than
can
it is
stop
for
it.
you.
Exactly. You can stop at
Yeah.
Target and find what he needs. Like you can walk right into Target, you can
Yes.
find the chino pant and the
Yep.
button up,
Hmm.
and you're good.
Exactly.
For you, sometimes it can be a couple stores or
Stressful.
ordering from Amazon to make a couple
And your hair and your
returns.
makeup goes with it, and you just don't be stressed. See, like,
Yeah.
think of yourself first, think of your little ones, throw your husband in something last.
And he'll be fine.
Yeah.
So with that, I know we have a couple of minutes. I mean, we can be here as long as we want. But if there's any specific questions, either right now, Christina or Hannah, you have from here.
I had a question just in terms of like getting my little one like ready and like making sure he's like good to go for our
Mhm.
allotted time. Like,
So I would say so I have two girls, and the biggest thing is with my oldest, she's almost 2. I like to do her hair, and she has a lot of curls. So when I try and do her hair, I try and like slick it back. Um, but my biggest thing is like in the car, that gets all like messed up, like her bows and stuff.
right.
So what I do is put like finishing touches on last. So
Okay.
if your little one is one that likes to snack in the car and you know it's just going to get everywhere, maybe just leave him in like pajamas or something in the car. And then when you
Okay.
get there, change him then.
Okay.
Or if you do have a little girl and like I said, the hair, if you feel better showing up early and doing her hair in the car, like when you show up or there, that can be last minute too. Just finding like what's easiest to keep them
I
put together as long as possible is the closer you are to the shoot, the better.
I totally second that because also having my little one, I we don't get dressed too soon because
Right.
it there's just stuff like things
Yeah.
just happen. Yeah. And
And
from
throws up all the time.
yes,
Water, juice, milk, it all spills, and you're
Mhm.
like, oh my God, I just
yes.
got you dressed.
Yeah.
And I've even had a poor girl, I had her daughter like threw up as they were parking at all over everything she was
Yeah.
wearing. And but then she was fine. So we still did the photos because it was just clearly like a, you know how kids are, like
Have
they
a
just do
backup
that.
option too. Yeah. So like if you know that your kid, will be just fine in the car seat, but we know accidents will happen. If you do show up and something like that happens, or they fall getting out of the car and they get mud on something, like have a backup that you still know, oh, okay, if I have to put them in this is still a good solid backup. Like have two options that no matter what happens, you're like, I love both of those. And I
That's
would,
a good idea.
yeah.
The other thing too, I think is Food. Okay, so
Mhm.
we get hangry. Our children get really
Way
hangry.
more hangry.
Like turn into little demon hangry. So I don't know. I can't remember how old he is, Christina.
He's almost 5 months.
Okay, okay. Oh gosh, so he and Amelia are close.
Yeah. My
So
littlest one is almost 5 months too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We survived.
Oh yeah.
so the food thing, and I don't know, Christina, if you're nursing or not, so that is a kind of a whole different thing. But even if your kids are 12 and 15, planning to um have them eat before is great. And then also keeping in mind that you might want to have a snack or something with you, or if you are nursing and you want to be able to get here and nurse first and so you have time, planning that
Yeah.
in is helpful, because I if they have hungry tummies, and no one's happy, even your partners, your husbands, like we don't want hungry tummies, okay, because no
Mhm.
one's happy. So food is a great one
Planning
to have.
naps too. Like if your
Yeah.
session is on the verge of like, oh, my kids might be nearing a nap. Like what I try to do, and like even what we're gonna try to do here in a little bit, is I try and plan it so that they are napping in the car. So if you can, like with 5 months, it's easier to get them to fall asleep in the car at that age. If you can, try and leave early, get her to fall asleep. That way, when you get there and it's your session time and he's up and he's lively, that will also help with the hungry thing. Because if they're like freshly woken up and they
Hungry and
just are
tired.
like, oh my gosh, what's happening? It'll be easier to deal with that way rather than being like, I'm nearing that nap, hungry time. If you can't, I know that you can't always plan that, but
And know your kid
sometimes that can be
too,
helpful.
because some are, it's like it can go either way. I know for Calvin, like
Yes.
if we get somewhere and he just woke up, he needs a little bit of time to warm up before
Right.
he's ready to um, uh, jump in. So
Interact.
yeah, know that too. Like if they are sleeping or you're planning for that and you want to be a little early so you can wake them up and have that transition,
Yeah,
that's something to think about too. Does
absolutely.
that help, Christina?
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I needed to hear. So thank you.
You're welcome. And also
I
with him
don't
being, oh, go ahead, Jen.
no, I don't know. I don't know what I missed. My thing is just my clothes. So obviously I already had my thing planned in October and it didn't work out.
I know.
So I already had my clothes. The
Oh,
I
okay.
black dress
Mm-hmm.
with like cream colored boots.
Mm-hmm.
The girls have one has I know you said no white, but
Depends.
I tell my girls like sit, don't touch nothing, don't
Yeah.
do anything, like
We're
don't
in white.
move.
Yes.
Um, so one has a white long sleeve with a brown skirt and
Okay.
then brown boots, and the other one, her shirt is like a cream. It's like a off white with
Mm-hmm.
a brown skirt and brown boots.
I think that works.
It's
Okay.
fine.
Yeah, you'll still work. Those are, we've talked about mostly today, like earth tones and neutral tones, and everything you just mentioned follows that. So nothing stands out to me. And you also, Jen, I'll send you the recording of this too, so you can watch it back. But
Okay.
just the first part, we talked a little bit about like the color palettes and everything, and you'll see that 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 makes sense. I think you'll be fine.
Okay. That's always my big thing. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
that's why you're doing the video, but that's always my big thing.
Yep, it's everybody's. It's just hard. We just don't know. And even for me, like I was talking to Laura, we're gonna do some family photos in November, and I'm like, I don't know what to wear, even though
Yeah.
I do this all the time. Um. Cool. Okay. Anybody else? Anything else? Christina?
No, that was it.
Cool. If you have any questions, feel free to text me. And I will then text Laura, or we can connect that way. But let me know if you have questions. I'm going to have this Amazon link. I will have the recording link so you can always watch it back. And then otherwise, I will see you guys next weekend. Okay.
And you'll shoot us the message, the address, and all that
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
week.
That's coming this week. You'll have an email with where we are, any directions, any other last minute tips. I'll have that for you
Okay.
too.
All right. Awesome.
right, guys?
All
Thank you
right.
so much. Thank you, Laura, for joining us too.
Yep.
So
Thank you so much, guys.
we'll see
Great.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.